The narrative begins with Tim, a video game developer overwhelmed by the stress and demands of his profession. One ordinary day, a sudden loss of internet connection sparks a wave of irritation. This minor disruption unlocks a flood of memories, with vivid flashbacks of his life with his wife, Lee, rushing into his mind. He revisits both their happiest times and the crushing grief of the day they lost their daughter. As his thoughts spiral, the boundary between memory and reality fades, plunging Tim into emotional turmoil he has long avoided facing. It's Lee who gently snaps him out of it, inviting him to join her for a surprise she's prepared. On their way out, they encounter Mr. Friedman, the man overseeing the building's renovations, who cheerfully announces that the work is finally complete and thanks them for their patience. Suddenly, something outside grabs their attention, thick smoke billows into the sky, and several helicopters are circling overhead. Friedman mentions that a major fire has broken out at the port, though the news reports claim it's already been contained. Still, an eerie unease lingers, as if that smoke signals a shift in everything they know. After picking up a pizza, Lee takes Tim to a nearby workshop with barely contained excitement, revealing their refurbished camper van. It's the very same one they used during happier times, escaping the monotony of daily life to travel together. Seeing the van stuns Tim. Just the sight of it unleashes a torrent of recollections about the idyllic life they shared before tragedy struck. Later, over dinner, Lee, still clinging to hope, proposes a spontaneous road trip to Paris to watch the sunrise, just like they used to. She confides that she's resigned from her job, craving not just a getaway but a heartfelt attempt to reconnect and restore what they've lost. Tim, weighed down by guilt and job commitments, can barely meet her gaze. He admits he remembers the promise they made, but insists he can't abandon his work right now, especially with critical tasks underway. Before he can finish, Lee, choking back emotion, quietly agrees that maybe another time would be better. That night, they sleep apart, and Lee silently weeps. Outside their apartment, unnoticed, something strange begins to stir, like the world itself is quietly unraveling. By morning, Lee decides to walk away from Tim, a choice she's delayed far too long after countless failed attempts to revive a dying relationship. With sorrow and determination, she tells him she's done, that he won't change. She collects her belongings and heads for the door, but just as she's about to leave, a mysterious black barrier suddenly materializes, cutting off her exit. Lee suspects Tim is behind it and demands an explanation, but he's just as baffled. As panic sets in, they realize they are completely sealed off from the outside. The strange wall stretches across the building and cannot be broken. They're trapped, and worse, the water supply has stopped, and mobile networks are gone. No contact with the outside world is possible. While they debate their next move, a scream from a neighboring apartment grabs their attention. Hoping they're not alone, they punch a small hole through the wall to reach out. They connect with Marvin and Anna, neighbors also imprisoned by the same dark wall. Like Tim and Lee, they are unable to escape. Fear grips them as they try to grasp what's happening and why they're being confined. Tension rises and Tim and Lee remain at odds. In a moment of frustration, Tim throws his phone at the wall, only to see a piece of metal stick to it. He soon identifies 4 magnetic points embedded in the wall. They begin attaching metal items to these spots and wait anxiously. The wall starts to shake violently, reacting to the interference. Suddenly, it forcefully ejects the metal pieces. Tim manages to shove Lee out of harm's way, but he gets struck. Lee rushes to help, pulling shards from his body. In that moment, words are unnecessary. Their shared instinct to survive and protect one another rekindles their bond. Just then, loud noises and yelling from the neighboring unit raise new alarms. Marvin and Anna are having a heated altercation. Fearing things are getting out of control, Tim and Lee widen the hole and step through. The scene that greets them is disturbing. Anna lies on the ground, hands stained with blood. Before they can react, Marvin, clearly disoriented, attacks Tim. Acting quickly, Lee sprays him with pepper spray, bringing him down. Anna rushes to defend Marvin, insisting the blood is his, not hers, and explaining that he's under the influence of drugs and not in his right mind. She swears he'd never hurt her. They tie Marvin's hands to restrain him, and Tim heads back to his apartment to look for anything that might help them escape. He finds only an axe. Without hesitation, he tries to break through the black wall using brute force, but every blow is absorbed, the wall completely unyielding. After some time, Marvin, more coherent now, apologizes for his earlier actions. He's ashamed, confused, and insists he meant no harm. Meanwhile, Lee suggests another idea. She remembers an old bomb shelter in the building's basement. It's a long-forgotten part of the structure with a passage connecting to the subway, possibly their only escape route. With no better plan, Tim agrees. They begin digging through the floor to reach the basement. Tim descends first and is startled to find their former neighbor Oswald waiting, armed and hostile. Oswald points a gun at Tim, warning him to return upstairs or dig elsewhere. Before things escalate, Oswald's granddaughter, Leah, appears and convinces him to let the others search for a way out so everyone can survive. Back upstairs, Tim unties Marvin, warning him not to cause trouble or Oswald will step in. Frightened, Marvin agrees and resumes digging. While inspecting smoke detectors, Tim notices something odd: tiny hidden cameras inside them. He immediately shows Lee, and the group comes to a disturbing realization: they've been monitored all along. Suspicion quickly turns to Friedman, the renovation supervisor who lives nearby. Determined to uncover the truth, they break through another wall leading into Friedman's apartment. What they find is horrifying. Friedman lies dead near the wall, both hands missing. No one can find them. The chilling discovery leaves them even more confused and afraid. Meanwhile, Marvin keeps digging toward the basement with renewed force. But the ceiling suddenly collapses beneath him, and both Tim and Anna plunge downward with it. Thankfully, they survive without injury. Once the group reunites, they're caught off guard by the appearance of Eerie, who introduces himself as a friend of Anton, the building's owner. As the group outlines their escape plan, Eerie cuts them off, warning that they're making a terrible error. He claims the wall isn't a prison, but rather a sophisticated defense mechanism built to shield them from deadly contamination outside and possible assaults. Lacking any proof to support his claims, the group decides to stick to their plan. Before they continue, they insist on seeing Anton. Eerie leads them to his room and reveals that Anton collapsed after a failed escape attempt. With no time to spare, the team opens another breach and continues downward. When they reach the shelter, they're stunned to discover that the exit is also sealed off by the black wall. Everyone falls into despair, Marvin most of all. In a reckless moment, he grabs Oswald's gun and fires at the wall, unaware that the bullets will ricochet. One strikes and kills the elderly man, marking a heartbreaking moment for Leah. Overwhelmed and hopeless, she's comforted by Eerie, who continues to insist they're better off inside the wall. Anna starts to suspect that there may be a common thread tying them all together, a reason they're stuck in this place. The group begins to share stories of family tragedies and brushes with death. Leigh finally breaks her silence and confronts Tim, blaming him for emotionally shutting down after their loss and burying himself in work as an escape. It's been 2 years since that devastating event, and in all that time, Tim has never tried to truly reconnect. Refusing to stay imprisoned any longer, Tim urges the group to search for blueprints or anything Friedman might have left behind regarding the renovation. Everyone begins to investigate, while Eerie stays seated, snacking and dismissing their efforts as pointless. Tim uncovers a hidden space revealing Friedman had installed cameras throughout every apartment. At the same time, Leah finds documents Anton had decoded, which point to an escape method. She also learns that the black Nanotech walls were engineered by Epsilon Nanodefense, the very company where Anton once worked as a programmer. Reviewing the surveillance footage, they discover that Eerie attacked Anton for uncovering a way out. With this new knowledge, they go to confront him. But when they arrive, they find Leah dead. A brutal fight breaks out with Eerie. Tim and Marvin overpower him and tie him up, demanding answers. But Eerie mocks them and refuses to talk. Looking deeper into the recordings, Tim discovers Anton had developed an app that could disable the wall, a kind of digital key that worked by using a phone flashlight to trigger specific bricks. Using his own coding skills, Tim replicates the app. Once complete, they give it a test run. As they activate the buttons shown on the screen, the wall begins to dissolve. Curious, Anna steps through first. But soon, her limbs get trapped as the wall regenerates, slicing into her and killing her. Marvin is devastated. Enraged by Eerie's laughter, he shoots him and then takes his own life. Now only Tim and Leigh remain. They finally reconcile. Just when it all seems hopeless, Tim notices a crucial detail: the number of flashes each button gives off varies. He deduces that each is part of a unique code. Rewatching Anton's footage, they follow the sequence of flashes he used to open the wall. They're about to try again when Eerie, somehow still alive, launches another attack. While fleeing, Leigh falls into the shelter. Tim pushes Eerie away and rushes to her aid. As Eerie pins Tim down and begins choking him, Tim tells Lei to go on without him, he's already unlocked the exit. But Lei refuses to leave him behind. Grabbing a machete, she kills Yuri, determined to save her husband. Terrified but resolute, they step through the exit and into daylight. What they see shocks them. The entire city is wrapped in the same black wall. Clearly, thousands more are trapped, struggling to break free. Despite everything, Tim and Lei realize they can't help everyone, but they can move forward. Together, they decide to begin again. They get in their truck and drive off, unaware of what's next. A voice on the radio announces that a fire at the Epsilon docks triggered a secret defense system. Investigators are trying to determine if it was an accident or deliberate sabotage. And with that, the story ends. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Cheers!